ourselves. There's a cold, harsh reality that this bill is just tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid for by gutting health care for up to 16 million Americans. And by the way, small business owners are going to see their premiums skyrocket. You know how many people, I believe at the end of the day, because so many hospitals will close or lay off people, that I believe it could be, you know, certainly hundreds of thousands and maybe even over 1 million people losing their jobs. This is across-the-board disaster for the American people. Now, Donald Trump is trying to lie about it. But let me tell our Republican Senate colleagues, what will be enacted is not Donald Trump's soothing words, but the actual reality of harsh cuts where people lose health care, where people's premiums go up, where hospitals close, nursing homes close, and people are laid off. So anyone who thinks they're voting for the nice words of Donald Trump will face a harsh reality when this is implemented. And they've moved up the implementation date as well to 2026. You know what that means? More hospitals close, more people are laid off. Healthcare providers don't get any time to try and adjust to the harsh reality that Republican House members and Republican senators want to impose on them. Over 850,000 people, it's estimated, will lose their jobs, and I think that estimate is low. I think it could go well over 1 million jobs lost. Over 10 million people who signed up for their insurance during the last month are healthy young people. Their costs are going to go up much higher. It affects the babies, it affects the kids, it affects the young people starting out with families, it affects the elderly. Across the board, it is just terrible. Now, Trump and the Republicans claim they want to fight fraud. Bull. Bull. They just pardoned a horrible nursing home owner. I think he got 10 years. I don't remember, but he got a big, long sentence, who committed fraud by taking money from the doctors and the nurses and the aides in his nursing home. They say they want to cut fraud. Then why'd they get rid of the IGs who are in charge of fraud? That's bull. They can't say it because they know how unpopular it is, but they just want to strangle health care and all it does for people, okay? Let me just say this. For many Americans, health care coverage is the difference between life and death. But, according to Ernst, fear not, we're going to die anyway. Tell that. The American people have heard it. Let me be clear, Democrats are ready. We are ready to fight. We are doubling down. We're ready to show Americans what's really at stake here, because this fight won't be won in just the Capitol. As Abe Lincoln said, public sentiment is everything. And when public sentiment hears about this "we're all going to die" act, they're going to hate it. And they're going to tell their senators they hate it. And if the senators think they can get away with a yes vote and explain it, they're sadly mistaken. The cuts are too deep, the cuts are too real, the cuts are too devastating for people. Okay? And finally, why are they doing all this? Why are they being so mean? Why are they being so cruel? And why are they being so politically tin-eared at best, suicidal at worst, all to give tax breaks to billionaires? They are in total obeisance, Donald Trump is, and his colleagues are, to the small group of very wealthy, greedy people who say, I don't care what you do to everyone else, cut my taxes. And, by the way, get rid of any regulations. Senator Wyden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leader. And let me pick up on where the leader stopped. The legislation has rapidly become an anti-senior bill. And let me walk you through why that's the case. 1 million low-income seniors are going to see their Medicare premiums go up by nearly $200 a month. The bill makes nursing homes less safe for frail seniors because it rolls back safety standards. For example, Mehmet Oz somehow thinks that AI is going to take care of everything that seniors need in rest homes. we pointed out to them, that's not going to help an 85-year-old who's up in the middle of the night and has to make the way to the bathroom. The bill's going to hurt hundreds of thousands of seniors by reducing services for those who count on Medicaid to lose care at home. And then the American people have heard some things about Medicaid in this bill and being so harmful. They're going to also learn that this bill would trigger $500 billion in Medicare cuts. This is going to hurt rural hospitals like a wrecking ball. Now, if you're an older person in America, this is also going to come on top of the Trump administration backing away from efforts to lower prescription drug costs. And we feel that this is a hugely big mistake. We worked very hard to get the power to negotiate more affordable medicine for seniors. And all these cuts in senior programs that I've mentioned, they come on top of the Trump message to seniors, we're not really much interested in holding down your costs of medicine. Now, as the leader touched on, the latest numbers from CBO released 2 hours ago make it clear that there are going to be more than $1 trillion in cuts to Americans' health care. And we do expect to hear later today that even more Americans are going to be losing their health insurance than the initial estimates from the Nonpartisan Budget Office have disclosed. But I do think that the American people want to know what's actually going on, and particularly for the seniors, who I've known since my days when I was director of the Gray Panthers. They have a right to know what incredibly harmful provisions are in the text of this legislation as of now. There's been some discussion about Medicaid, but you all, and I'm a journalist kid, can now go out and tell the elderly of this country how this bill is going to affect them, because they have a right to know and they aren't going to like it. This morally bankrupt bill boils down to a simple equation, as the leader touched on. Health care cuts for Americans walking on an economic tightrope is what this bill is all about, and it's going to be paid for by extra tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy. Senator Hassan and I are members of the Finance Committee. You can be sure we'll be fighting this every step of the way. And as the leader noted, we are going to use every single tool at our disposal to fight this. I don't think the Republicans even want to talk about the specifics. The three of us, the leader and I, have our roots in the Finance Committee. We remember the days when Republicans wanted to go into the Finance Committee, have markup. They don't want to go into the Finance Committee and have markups because they don't want to talk about all the health care cuts they're hitting people with. So Senator Schumer, our leader, and Senator Hassan, very pleased to be with both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader.
Well, good afternoon.
Great Senator Hassan, one of our leaders on health care.
Bravo.
Well, thank you, Leader Schumer. Thank you, Chairman Wyden, Ranking Member Wyden, for your remarks and for your leadership. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Look, President Trump and congressional Republicans continue to push forward a bill that gives more tax breaks to billionaires and corporate special interests, paid for by trillions being added to the national debt, paid for by taking health care coverage away from 36,000 Granite Staters and millions of Americans, and triggering nearly $500 billion in cuts to Medicare. Just last week, I met with Granite Staters, including in New Hampshire's rural North Country, and I heard about what will truly be a devastating impact that these health care cuts will have on both the people who need health care and on the ability of providers who want to serve patients to keep their doors open. Kadisha, a young mother in Nashua, New Hampshire, in the southern part of the state, talked to me about the services that her son with autism gets because he has Medicaid coverage. Occupational therapy, physical therapy, behavioral therapy. He's making great progress. All of that is now at risk because of this bill. Now, Medicaid can be the difference between life or death for people and families. The difference between getting care for diabetes, for addiction, or cancer are having these diseases go untreated. And seniors across our state have paid into Medicare their entire working lives based on the promise that the Medicare system will provide health care for them when they retire. This bill, one of the largest health care cuts in the history of the United States, let me repeat that. This is one of the largest health care cuts in the history of the United States, will result in more untreated diseases, packed emergency rooms, and even higher prescription drug prices. Just last week, someone I know was at one of our local hospitals' emergency room. The wait for treatment for a routine infection in that emergency room was 7 hours. That's a real problem, and it will only get much worse if this bill passes. And as people lose their coverage and don't get care, rural providers who count on these patients will have to severely cut back their services or close their doors altogether. Now, let me tell you what's happening for pregnant women in my state. For a pregnant woman in labor, as you all know, every minute feels like an hour. In New Hampshire, the median driving time to a labor and delivery unit has already doubled over the last decade to 40 minutes. If more hospitals have to close their labor and delivery units because of these Medicaid cuts, that time will grow even longer. And let's also be clear, especially in the northern part of my state, if it's winter time, that 40-minute drive may be a life-threatening drive in and of itself, and it will take much longer. We've seen an uptick in New Hampshire in births that occur in unplanned locations. Just in January, a couple who ended up she had a home birth because she couldn't get to the hospital in time. For older and disabled Granite Staters, I heard in the North Country last week about a woman in her 80s who lives alone with her adult disabled son, who needs a community health worker to navigate the paperwork to apply for Medicaid and get the redetermination every year for her adult disabled son. She can't get through the paperwork without the help of a community health worker, and community health worker positions are being cut by this administration. So these new rules will have real impacts on people like my constituent who I just described and her disabled son. The bottom line here is clear. If congressional Republicans and Donald Trump get their way and pass their bill to give billionaires and corporate special interests more tax breaks at the expense of the middle class, more people will get sick, health providers will be impacted, our economy will be weakened, and families will be hurt. And last thing, I want to remind people that my colleagues and I, on both sides of the aisle, have, in fact, put forward a number of bipartisan proposals to lower health care costs. There's real work to be done in this area. But if my Republican colleagues are willing to abandon their dangerous partisan bill, we could actually do this work together and actually lower costs, health care costs, for our constituents. But right now, it appears that they are determined to pass this devastating bill. We're going to continue to speak out about the harms that it will cause, about the trillions it will add to our deficit, about the healthcare providers who will need to close their doors, about the real dangers this provides to the health, the security, and the economy of our states and our country. Thank you.
Well done, Maggie Hassan.
Maggie, great.
Just again, so you heard, everything's getting worse. The more you look at the bill, the worse it gets. It's now $1 trillion in cuts. It's over 800,000 job loss, many of them in nursing homes and rural hospitals. Just remember, they depend on Medicaid disproportionately. I've been in nursing homes in downstate, upstate, rural. They're all worried they're going to close. 70, 80% of their revenue is Medicaid. Same with rural hospitals. And then you add the Medicare problems to it and the healthcare provider. Some of the bigger hospitals are going to be devastated and have to lay off people and not be able to treat people as well. But for the rural hospitals and the smaller hospitals, this is really death. And the bottom line is This is going to be devastating in America. I think if our Republican colleagues, God forbid they pass this bill and it becomes law, could turn the clock a year ahead, they'd all say, why did we do that? Why did we do that? Questions on this subject? Yes, ma'am.
GOP lawmakers have defended some of their budget bills, Medicaid reforms, by highlighting preliminary CBO projections of roughly 1.4 million illegal immigrants losing their coverage under state-funded health programs. Is reducing federal Medicaid payments to states that provide coverage to undocumented immigrants a reform that
Look,
you would support?
the bottom line is this overall bill is so awful. If they want to aim, if they got some specific issues, aim it. Don't just do a meat axe or a chainsaw across the board and cut everything, everything, everything. I don't know if their numbers are accurate. These are GOP numbers, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is this goes way beyond even what they're talking about and hurts everybody. Next question. Next question.
Considering Elon Musk's robust opposition to this bill and the fact that he has not returned the call of the Speaker of the House, according to the Speaker, would you try to bring him into the fold to help kill this bill in the Senate?
He's not my cup of tea, to put it mildly, but Republicans are already listening to him. They're already listening to him. You've heard some of the right-wing groups uplift Elon Musk against Donald Trump. Yes.
Well, one of the things that it sounds like he wants is to bring back the EV tax credit that's been taken out of the reconciliation bill. Is that another thing that you agree with on?
Well, I spoke on the floor. I spoke on the floor about what they're doing overall in energy is just ridiculous. A, it's going to raise people's costs, thousands of dollars in terms of their power costs. Number two, over 840,000 jobs will be lost. And number three, it gives all the keys to China. So we have to revamp the entire energy package. And I've met several times with my 7 or 8 of my Democratic colleagues. I think Senator Wyden was in those meetings.
Yep.
And we're reaching out to Republican colleagues, as are industries that are affected. 80% of these new clean energy industries are in Republican states. The whole thing needs revamping. Whole thing needs revamping, just like in healthcare. Yes?
Are you urging members to vote against the Genius Act on any final votes?
I voted no. There's a division in our caucus on that issue. The reason I voted no is because it did nothing to stop Donald Trump and his family from engaging in self-aggrandizing, self-enriching activities. Yes?
OMB sent a rescission package to the Hill. And I'm wondering what you think about that in light of Russ Vought's argument that he doesn't need to do this, that they have the right to impound funds. Do you think that sending that rescissions package kind of undermines his political point?
Well, I think the bottom line is the rescission package is something that we Democrats very much vehemently oppose. How are you going to have a budget? How are you going to put together budgets if they're then going to try to do rescissions? What's the point of doing a budget? But the good news is there are a good number of Republicans who don't like it either. Last one.
Leader Jeffries yesterday told us that he thinks the rescissions package is dead in the Senate, that it will not pass here. Do you agree with that?
Look, we're going to fight the rescission. They haven't even sent it over to us yet, so we can't comment on what's going to. We'll see what happens in the House. But I think there's broad Democratic opposition to the rescissions package. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, there you have it. Yet again, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, flanked by a number of other top Democrats, discussing the big, beautiful bill. According to Senator Schumer, it's far from that. As he stated, we are all going to die bill. That's what he dubbed it. He also stated that, well, it will cut $1 million, if you will, with regard to Medicaid for seniors. Not only that, but trillions in cuts overall for America's health care. Joining us yet again to discuss all of this and so much more, Mr. Ian Chaikin, who was kind enough to be patient back here on the Live Zone. Ian, you had a lot to say there, specifically calling the bill, we are all going to die bill. Some unusual rhetoric with regard to how he's now dubbing it.
Well, I guess the Democratic Party's fear-mongering continues because that was, he said a lot about nothing. That was nothing more than an attempt to scare the American people, filled with opinions and completely disregarding the fact that the American people want cuts. completely disregarding the fact that we have been funding illegal immigrants' health care for many, many years, with a significant increase during the Biden administration. And some of the things that they said is blatantly not true, like the increase in unplanned location births in New Hampshire. There's been an increase, and I wrote this down, from 2.2 per thousand back in 2005 to 3.8 per thousand in 2022. A lot of it having nothing to do with the type of healthcare you have, but having to do with travel time, location, and socioeconomic factors. This wasn't a truthful press conference. This was a fear-mongering event in the typical Chuck Schumer manner.
Very interesting. Yet again, Democrats being very vocal with regard to all things surrounding the big, beautiful bill. Ian, we'll end with this, and that is, speaking of vocal, you have been very vocal, if you will, combating anti-Semitism. I'm thinking about the two recent events, that horrific events at that took place right here on American soil. The latest in Boulder, Colorado. What do you have to say about that and about the increased violence we've seen toward the Jewish community?
Well, how much time do we have? Look, I am, as I've told you before, I am proud Israeli-born Jew. And there is no doubt that there's been a significant increase in anti-Semitism, violent acts in this country. But I don't want to look at it as just an anti-Semitism issue, because anti-Semitism is one of the longest historical hate and bias that exists. This radical Islam that's spreading through this country like a malignant cancer has to be addressed. It has been fueled by the far left politicians and the far left media. We have become a nation that's lost its way. Our roots are being cut and are being poisoned. And you know what happens to a tree when the roots die? The tree will eventually die. We have to put an end to this immediately. The far left media and the far left politicians, they call all these protests, and we'll get to the violence, but they call these protests these disgusting verbiages that are being used for genocide, for the extinction of a Jewish state, for the extinction of a Jewish people, for intifada in the United States, for violence in the United States, are treasonous. They cannot be tolerated, and they're being tolerated based on the First Amendment of the Constitution. Now, I'm a very big supporter of the Constitution, but don't use the Constitution as both a sword and a shield. If you're going to rely on the Constitution to let people incite hate, then apply the Constitution fully and give the American people the full right of the Second Amendment to bear arms. Because from what we're seeing, this country is headed in the wrong direction quickly. And the American people have to have the right to bear arms to protect themselves in the event that it's necessary. We have to put an end to this rhetoric. We have to put an end to these people protesting, and shame on the American education system for allowing what they've allowed. We are allowing people that have celebrated the deaths of Americans during the 9/11 attack by throwing candies in Gaza and in the West Bank and in Lebanon. We have allowed them to celebrate the deaths of Israeli hostages and citizens whose dead bodies were dragged to the streets, while the innocent civilians of Gaza sat there and stomped on them and spat on them and celebrated their deaths. If we don't start getting control over this elastic concept of the First Amendment and free speech, we are going to find ourselves in a position where we have no control, kind of like what we have going on right now in Paris and London and Western Europe. This is not an attack just on Jews. This is an attack on Western civilization, and America needs to wake up.
We know later today President Trump will host a meeting with top Jewish members in the Jewish community. It's all surrounding combating anti-Semitism, yet again set to get underway later this afternoon. We have been speaking with Mr. Ian Chaikin, political strategist, kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Thank you so much for being patient, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Any B-roll? All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So, did you get a chance to see it? I'm referring to Season 17 of American Ninja Warrior, which premiered not one but 2 nights ago. If the answer is yes, then you probably got a chance to see this guy doing his thing in a major way. Meet Austin Barron. I should make mention, he's a local guy out of Ashburn, Virginia, but kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. What's up, dude? Good to see you, my man.
Hello, good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
I got to tell you, you are officially the man out of Ashburn right now. When you're preparing for this show, and I have been waiting to ask this all day, how in the heck do you do just that? What are you doing? 8 million push-ups, a couple of sit-ups? What are you doing, man?
Well, right, I just started college at the University of Notre Dame, and they've got a rock climbing facility. So I go rock climbing as much as I can. They also have a lot of pull-up bars around campus, so I do pull-ups and dead hangs. It's a lot of fun.
So, Austin, when you got there, and first of all, I don't know where there is at, wherever they shoot this thing at, I'm curious, what were you surrounded by? Was it everything you thought it was going to be?
It's really an incredible experience. This season is a throwback season, so they brought back a lot of the veteran ninjas, and it was an amazing experience to compete with them. Also, the obstacles that they had on the courses were obstacles that they had on previous seasons, so it was really just incredible to compete on the obstacles that I grew up watching.
All right, man, I'm completely jealous because, you know, I just saw B-roll of you jumping on this or flying to that. I'm trying to figure out how in the heck did you do that? Do they give you a trial run prior to actually shooting this, or is it just a one-take Jake thing, meaning, here you go, it's your first time, good luck?
Yeah, the first run is just the qualifying run. It's like the run that was on Monday. That's the first run. There's nothing before that.
Gosh, man. And so, yet again, you have advanced on to the next round. Correct me if I'm wrong, but ultimately, if everything goes well, you could walk away with $250,000. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that means dinner's on you. I'm curious, man. Your friends and family, now that you have returned home, what are they saying now that you're, in essence, a superstar?
The whole reason that I go on the show is because I want to feed the hungry. I started a nonprofit named Not Perfect, and I want to go on to help the hungry. When I was younger, I went to meal packing events, and I learned that 1 billion people go to bed hungry each night, and that's such a big number, and I really want to do what I can to help them. So I started by making these dog toys and giving them to people who donated to help me feed the hungry, and then going on Ninja Warrior is just another way that I'm using something that I love to do and using it to help other people.
Yeah, yet again, when I grow up, I always wanted to be a ninja. It seems like you kind of beat me to it. In this case, you're doing so in a major way, and a good guy at that, because you want to give back. We're truly proud of you, man. Continue to represent Ashburn, VA, and the DMV as much as you can, and as you continue your journey on American Ninja Warrior Season 17. Yet again, we have been joined by Austin Barron. Good to see you, my man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No doubt. How cool is that, guys? That's what I call a real-life ninja. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Well, look who rolled into the LZ for the first time, live in person.
Oh my gosh, I'm a live zone virgin. I've never been on this show before. Does my hair look good?
You look just fine, but I don't think I can comment on that. I might end up in HR.
No worries.
So we call this our Wednesday Talkers, and I'm so glad you're here, Annie Mae.
Oh, I love to talk. So.
All right, well, let's do it then. In this case, have you ever, let's say, ordered something from Uber Eats and wanted to get it for free, but didn't know how to go about to do it?
How do you get things for free? On
There's
Uber
a
Eats?
cheat code for that.
Apparently there's a cheat code.
Of a TikTok user actually stating, hey guys, hey gals, we can do it, and here's how you do it. Apparently, in the comment section with regard to the food that you're ordering, she recently wrote, while ordering from a Vietnamese restaurant, I freaking love Miss Choos. Now, she wrote it in the notes section. Well, as a result, they sent her a free dessert. In essence, because she was nice, she got free food. Do you think it'll work?
I hope it works. I mean, okay, I don't know how. Well, first of all, did she use freaking? Is the question.
Okay, I'm making it PG version.
Second of all, if you end up ordering from a restaurant, like I feel like consistently, and you're a consistent orderer for something like that, I feel like maybe they would give you a free food, free dessert, something like that. Half the time you say it's your birthday and they give you free dessert anyway. So if you're nice, I feel like it'll definitely get you a little bit further in life, right?
I'm always nice because I'm fearful that they're gonna like open up the bag and eat some of my fries.
Right.
And so as a result, I'll just say like, hey, I can't wait to see you. Then I'm like, is that the right thing to do? Because I really don't care.
Do you message your Uber driver?
I do. I want them to show up on time and make. Seriously, one time I had it was a pizza, and the pepperoni obviously had been removed, and I'm like, I think I think they ate a piece of my pizza.
Okay, the problem is I feel like they have those, they had to put those things on now, the little guards that they put over top, because apparently that was an issue, which is in itself an issue, because I don't know why you're eating other people's food and why you're doing what you're doing if you're gonna eat somebody else's food. But I don't know, half the time I've heard from Uber drivers that if like somebody cancels their order, they're with like a free lunch. So I don't understand why you would steal somebody else's food when half the time if somebody cancels their order, you can just grab it.
Get your own Uber Eats,
Get
guys.
your own.
Bottom line.
Half the time they're really nice. I always tip. Tipping helps.
Okay.
In the long run, if you tip, people are usually nice to you.
Yeah.
So.
There it is. Just
There
be
you
nice.
go.
Can't
Just
we all
be
get along?
nice.
Speaking
Can't
of
we
getting
all?
along, apparently a young lady really gets along with Red Bull in a major way. I cannot believe this story. So she loves Red Bull so much that she decided to get, let's just say, the barcode tattooed on her, well, portion of her body. You see it right there on her arm. Take a look at that, Annie Mae. Well, that's not the actual barcode, but a version of somebody getting a tattoo. In this case, she said, hey, I want the barcode of a Red Bull. It actually scans. She went to the store, put it on the little scanner portion, and doo-doo-doo, yeah, it rung up for like $2 and whatever cents it happened to be. Do you love a food and or an item so much that you would get it tattooed on your person?
Okay, one, I love that this scans. I love that this scans. Like I've seen people get QR code tattoos and stuff before where it's like, it takes you to like their business card or whatever, right? Which is genius marketing, by the way. I'm not a huge tattoo person. I like tattoos on guys, like my boyfriend has tattoos. I'm not huge on tattoos for me, per se, but if I were to get something, I don't know, what would you get if you were to get something?
I thought about it.
tattooed?
Probably, like, I'm a huge fan of Klondike bars. You know, the ice cream, like.
That's such a weird niche.
I just love them. I mean, it's better than an ice cream sandwich, thank you.
So you would just get like, what would you do?
Yeah, well, that's kind of cheesy. Yeah.
That's cheesy.
That's
but
really
getting
cheesy.
but getting a Klondike bar is not. I would probably get like I would get a peace sign. I would probably get a peace sign because like I don't know. That's like I feel like that's my. If it were to be food, probably like a latte. I'm a latte lady.
Okay. Maybe we should follow in the footsteps of producer Chris. He has that whole and pizza tattoo, and as a result, he gets free pizza for life.
So he just goes over and he's like,
Yeah,
hey.
it's like, look at this. It's like
That's
a superhero.
Like Kevin, you know who has a lot of tattoos of like movies and stuff that we love? Kevin.
Are you serious?
You don't know that?
I didn't. Kevin McCarthy has tattoos?
Yes. Okay, Kevin said it on air before, so I'm not exposing him. He has like a whole bunch of different tattoos of like movies and stuff that he shows people.
Wow.
I don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure he has a Breaking Bad tattoo.
Okay.
Because when we interviewed Breaking Bad, the actors there, he showed him that.
Wow, you learn something new every day on this show.
Don't quote me. We have to ask him for confirmation.
Hey, we got 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get to this. There is apparently a new way that men that are out dating are, well, trying to discover quote-unquote gold diggers. We all remember that song. In this case, well, the typical guy said, hey, you know what? I'll go out on a date. It's our first date. We'll order whatever we both want. Then when the bill comes, I hand her the bill.
That's insane.
If she opts to pay for it, I immediately stop her and say, hey, you passed the test, and then he goes about to pay for the actual bill itself. Do you like this?
If you hand it to me, you're getting a throat punch. That's ridiculous behavior. That's insane. I will always offer to pay, fully well knowing that I'm not gonna pay.
Yeah.
Like, right? I think most women do that where I'm like, oh, like I'll like offer to pay. I'll be like, oh, I'll grab it, and they'll be like, no, 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 and it's this like cute little fight.
Yeah.
It's like not real. But if you hand me the bill, I'm standing up and walking out. That's ridiculous. I seriously have no problem paying for the bill
Right.
if I didn't feel like, if I were going on a first date and it was you and me having a conversation, whatever, I didn't
Sure.
feel like it was legit, I would offer to pay for my half. Some girls think that's crazy. They think they're never gonna pay. I don't have a problem if I don't really like you and it's like
Yeah.
we both mutually agree.
Kinda with Dutch,
I don't have
yeah.
a problem paying for it myself, paying for my portion. But if you hand me the bill, that's just rude.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree with you.
I
I'm-
don't like that. Call me traditional.
Well,
but-
I'm with you. I'm old-fashioned. I would
Yeah.
always opt to pay, and there's probably another way to which you can actually discover
Yeah.
as to whether or not that person happens to be a gold digger.
Right. And
Hmm.
if you're not offering to pay, I would think you don't have the money. I'm like, oh, are you there's
That's-
financial struggles?
That's just called being cheap.
Right? Don't be cheap. Buy your girl a date.
And
a
that's
date
the takeaway
night.
from none other than Annie Mae.
There we go.
Joining us for our Wednesday Talkers. Always good to see you.
Always good to see you. Boom.
We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, if you didn't know, let me be the first to tell you. You see, June is recognized as Men's Health Month. Hence, we are going to do our part to make sure we bring more awareness. In this case, we'll focus on the best practices around prostate cancer screening and prevention. Joining us to do just that is Dr. Inger Rosner with Inova Shark Cancer, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, ma'am, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
I got to tell you, this is a truly an important topic. We know that former President Joe Biden, in essence, has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. It happens to be top of mind for a lot of Americans right now. And so with that being said, let's start with the basics. What exactly is prostate cancer and how common is it?
So prostate cancer or prostate gland is a gland that sort of sits below the bladder. It's a small gland that grows larger as men get older. And that's where the prostate cancer starts within the prostate gland itself. And it is typically, we screen for prostate cancer in the United States with a blood test called PSA or prostate specific antigen. It's a blood test. And depending on various conversations with your doctors, folks can tell you when and how to get screened for that prostate cancer.
Yeah, so Dr. Rosner, obviously this is something, as I stated, that it's top of mind. And what do I mean by that? When you turn on the news and you turn on us, you see stories about the president, the former president, actually suffering from prostate cancer. And so before, I got to tell you, I didn't think about it. Now, it's something that I really want to make sure I stay on top of. And with that being said, it's all about the early warning signs, is it not?
Yes, I mean, at very low stages of the disease, sometimes there are no symptoms, but again, having a conversation with your physician about when to start getting screened for prostate cancer. Do you have increased risk of developing prostate cancer? African American men can develop disease at a younger age. And certainly as men get older, we tend to diagnose prostate cancer more commonly in an older age population over 65.
Let's talk about the lifestyle effects, if you will. We know that a lot of folks perhaps are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, myself included. Maybe it's the food that I'm eating. Maybe it's my alcohol intake. I'm hoping you could provide us with some tips to make sure that, well, I and my viewers as well are headed down the right path.
Yes, so obviously trying to have a healthy lifestyle. So exercise, eating a diet that has a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and limited red meats and processed meats can be helpful. Alcohol intake, as you know, has been also very much a part of the news recently, and in its increased risk of developing different types of cancers. So alcohol to a lower amount of consumption. There are some studies that showing that men with very high dietary dairy intake is actually negative, or may potentially exacerbate your risk for prostate cancer. But that would be an extreme kind of intake of dairy products.
I had this conversation with my father recently, making sure that, yet again, I get screened for prostate cancer. One of the things that he made me aware of is that his brother, my uncle, actually suffered from prostate cancer, meaning we have a history within our family. Yet again, is that something I should truly be concerned about?
So typically a history of prostate cancer is a primary relative, and that's a brother or a father. Now, I would let your primary care provider be aware that you have an uncle, a paternal uncle with prostate cancer. But when you think about family risk, we think more of a primary relative, and that's a brother or a father.
Yet again, we can tell you in this day and age, AI seems to rule the world. And so technology is truly on the rise. I'm hoping there is new technology that we can utilize to combat prostate cancer.
I don't know if AI will help with combat prostate cancer, but we're certainly, I would imagine, in lots of different technologies, we'll be using AI to help us in terms of diagnostics. We certainly use technology like MRI imaging to help us diagnose and potentially find prostate cancer earlier or in a specific location.
All right. Well, this is truly, truly important, something we want to make sure that we stay on top of. Folks that want to find out more information, is there a particular website you would recommend?
So obviously, you know, the American Cancer Society is a great website. I'm a urologist, and the American Urologic Association has some great information regarding prostate cancer screening and recommendations. So I think initially starting with those two websites would be very beneficial.
Very good. Yet again, we have been speaking with Dr. Inger Rosner with Inova Shar Cancer, kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate your time, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of the break, it's one of the big stories that's happening right here in the nation's capital. Initiative 82. Councilmember at Large Robert White joins us next, right here on the Live Zone. Well, the D.C. Council has voted to pause further implementation of Initiative 82 on tipped workers' wages until October. You may recall back in 2022, nearly 74% of district voters cast their ballots to phase out the minimum wage for restaurant and hospitality workers whose wages also include tips. Now, back then, it was about $5 per hour. Yesterday, the vote was 8-4 to pause the next step of Initiative 82, which would raise the minimum tipped wage for service workers to $12 an hour. Among those who voted no, this gentleman, at-large council member Robert White, joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Council member, always good to see you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Guys, good to be back with you.
All right, let's jump right into this. We know that some D.C. bars and restaurants have really cited increased costs from Initiative 82 as a reason for closing their businesses. Is this why you opted to vote no with regard to this?
That's one of the big reasons. When restaurants close, that means people have lost jobs. Folks voted in the city to increase wages, but I'm hearing from the majority of tipped workers in restaurants saying their wages have actually gone down. Some have gone up, but most are saying to me that they've gone down. So if we're losing jobs and wages are going lower, and then what you probably understand, I understand, when you go to a restaurant, you plan to tip 20%, and then you get a 20% service charge too, then you're eating out less. So that's what me and my family are doing. So that's more lost wages. So rather than plow through, see a lot of local businesses closing, restaurants closing, people losing hours and wages, the council said, let's pause this for 3 months, figure out how to implement this in a way that makes sense and doesn't hurt what is really particularly Black and brown workers and business owners.
We know a number of council members have really drawn attention to the fact that D.C.'s economic conditions, well, let's just be real, they have drastically changed since Initiative 82 was on the ballot back in 2022. I'm hoping you can elaborate.
Yeah, since 2022, inflation has just been crazy. Most of us have felt that. Restaurants have felt that. The new administration means that a lot of people have lost jobs. Our tourism has changed. And then to comply with Initiative 82, restaurants have implemented, most of them, service charges. And all of these things have had an impact, you know, not just one of them, but all of them. And so we're looking at what we can control. We can't control inflation. We can't control who's in the White House here in DC, but we can say, let's look at where things are going and figure out how we implement I-82 in a way that's not causing people to actually lose money and not causing a lot of our smaller local restaurants to close, because none of us want to see a city where there are a bunch of chains and people in the industry are making less than we intended. That's not what we want. So we've got to correct the ship.
Councilmember, there's a flip side of the coin, as they always say. In this case, we know that the president of Unite Here Local 2025 Labor Union, which represents about 7,000 hospitality workers right here in this area, called the pause of Initiative 82 a betrayal of workers and the people who voted for that measure. What say you to that?
Yeah, I appreciate the advocacy, but here's the deal. The council actually changed the timeline yesterday on 2 laws, one that the council passed and one that came to us through a referendum, both in response to things that we were seeing on the ground in order to give us time to fix it. So, you know, I understand the advocacy, but what I remind people is this is one of a lot of tough issues ahead of us. So we've got to ease up with the demonizing. We've got to think twice about how we advocate, and we've got to spend more time listening to each other and talking to each other, because anyone who pretends that this issue is easy or that everybody is on one side of it, I think is not being sincere. So we've got to be straight up with each other. We've got to work through these hard things, and we can, but it's going to require some different tools and, frankly, different types of conversations than what we've had over the past years.
Obviously, a lot of focus happens to be on the hospitality workers, but we know that according to a newly released study, 44% of restaurant operators fear of closing down this year alone. That's concerning.
Yeah, it's really concerning, and it's neighborhood spots. If you live in Ward 5, you've seen a lot of your local restaurants that have been here for some years close, and that's tough for us in DC. But most of the restaurants that are closing are the independently owned ones, because they don't have what's called economies of scale, where they can spread these costs out over many restaurants. So if you own just one restaurant, if you're one of these folks who, you know, stepped out on a crazy dream to open a restaurant, you're struggling to figure out how to make it.
All right, Councilmember, just hold that thought 1 second. Going to take you now to the White House, where we now see Secretary Rubio meeting with the Singaporean foreign minister. Let's take a listen in.
Thank you.
Just like that, walk in and walk out. Obviously, this is taking place at the White House. We call that a photo op. We were expecting the secretary to make several remarks. Unfortunately, he did not, but it appears that they have done their just due, and that is take a picture yet again at the White House. We'll take a quick break and be right back. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone.
Mic is up. 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Going to take you down to the House floor. Yet again, the big topic, the big discussion all surrounds the big, beautiful bill. Senator Chuck Schumer recently stating that, well, he's dubbing it the "We Are All Going to Die" bill. Let's take a listen in as lawmakers speak on behalf of that bill.
The chair would remind that all remarks are to be made to the chair. The gentlelady from Minnesota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I always have to take the opportunity to correct things. What we are doing in this bill with Medicare, or in the reconciliation bill, because this bill in front of us is not what they're talking about, because they have digressed into Democrat, anti-Trump, anti-Republican talking points. But I do have to make a few things clear. With the Medicaid in the reconciliation bill, we have, for able-bodied individuals without dependents, there is a work requirement. That work requirement could also be schooling, or it can be community engagement. We will be removing illegal immigrants who should not be on Medicaid. We also are looking at that waste, fraud, and abuse, those items, and those people that will be removed should not have been on Medicaid in the first place. So they shouldn't have been there anyway. They shouldn't have been on the rolls. So it is not, we are not removing people that need Medicaid, because those people who need it will be getting it. It's that work requirement, it's the illegal immigrants, and those who should not have been on it in the first place. And with that, I reserve.
The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Yeah, well, first let me just say to the gentlelady that according to CBO, undocumented immigrants are not receiving federal funds for Medicaid. So, I mean, read CBO. Don't listen to your Republican talking points. Actually read the stuff that we pay people to provide us the information to make sure we have the facts. Mr. Speaker, these bills are not standalone ideas. They're part of a larger Republican playbook, one that protects the powerful and punishes the rest. More tax breaks for billionaires, more crumbs for working people, more favors for Wall Street, more struggles for Main Street, more cruelty toward the vulnerable, more indifference to anyone who isn't writing a campaign check. We have never seen pay to play as much as we have seen in this Congress and in this administration. This isn't governing. It is greed, it is corruption, and cruelty masquerading as policy. And the American people deserve a hell of a lot better than this dark vision. The idea that you're going to take health care away from people is unconscionable. And you do so with a straight face is unconscionable. This big, ugly bill is a disgrace. And today you're attacking small businesses and you're attacking programs that help combat substance abuse addiction in this country. Vote no. I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentlewoman.
Okay, so you have it. Yet again, lawmakers debating, if you will, somewhat testy on the House floor surrounding all things with regard to the big, beautiful bill. We know that Democrats, as I stated earlier, have now dubbed it the "We Are All Going to Die" bill. We will continue to monitor that throughout the afternoon right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Now the latest on the Sean Diddy sex crimes trial. Today, we know that forensic video expert Frank Piazza is testifying. He says the March 2016 video from the Intercontinental Hotel that captured Combs' assault of his then-girlfriend Cassie was not manually altered. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Dante Mills, trial attorney extraordinaire, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Dante.
Good afternoon, Guy. Good to see you.
All right, so let's jump through this. There is a lot to digest yet again. Every day it seems like it's a different movie, if you will. In this case, we know that you heard me just mention Mr. Frank Piazza actually took to the stand to testify. I'm curious, why would they need an actual expert, if you will, to talk about that whether or not that video was manually altered?
We have to understand that the prosecutors in a case have the responsibility of proving things beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal case. So their job is to dot every single I and cross every T. And I know we see a lot of trials on TV or that kind of stuff, but sometimes and oftentimes in trials, it's kind of boring testimony because you have to state the obvious. So you have to bring in an expert to say that this video is real. It just can't be assumed that it is. And if they don't bring in somebody to do that, then the defense gets up and argues, that it was altered. They have no response to that, and a jury may find some doubt. So this is just part of a checklist that the prosecutors have to do. I don't think they anticipated that it would really move the needle, but they do have to check those boxes off to make sure that they're laying their bricks properly so that they can get a verdict that they're looking for.
Speaking of checking boxes off, I could tell you the box of plenty of drama was checked off yesterday when Eddie Garcia took to the stand, in essence testifying about how he was paid to give Diddy that so-called video, and to the tune of, well, initially we thought $50,000, but we discovered it happened to be $100,000. Your thoughts on that, Dante?
Yeah, well, it seems Sean Combs put a cherry on top. He was only going to give him, or the agreement was for $50,000, but he counted out $100,000 in $10,000 increments with the money machine, with money that he pulled out of a brown paper bag. That was Christmas for that security guard who happened to be working the day that this incident occurred. But I can tell you that happens often. In fact, we saw this happen with President Donald Trump, where a payoff was made because he did not want something to embarrass him. I don't think that's in and of itself illegal, and that's not going to prove the prosecutor's case here. A lot of what we're hearing is about the videotape. It's about the physical abuse that was on that videotape, but that's not a criminal conspiracy. It's not a RICO charge. It doesn't meet that level. So I think they have to get beyond the tape. They keep showing this tape almost every day. They've shown it, and they're filling in these details behind it. But they have to go beyond that and bring in other people to say there was an enterprise. There were people working for him who were doing things, not just Sean Combs trying to protect his image and stop a video that would make him look bad for getting out, because people do that all the time.
And then there's Jane. Jane. Well, that's pretty much all we know, and we know that she is set to take the stand today as well. However, she had a special request. Do you know what that request happened to be?
I do not. I know that there was a
something with regard to a medical condition.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I know that oftentimes there's things that the district attorney will have conversations, or the U.S. attorney in this case will have conversations with the witness and make or try to make concessions so that they feel comfortable coming in to testify. So I don't know if it was something about the privacy or some things that she wanted to testify about, but other things she wanted to be excluded from having to talk about. Those are things that come up often. And especially when this case is being followed nationally and globally, I'm sure a witness coming in is going to want to make sure that they're not embarrassing themselves beyond where they need to. But it wasn't disclosed, as far as I'm aware, as far as what that special request was.
Let's get back to the basics of all of this, and that is, Dante, I could publicly say I would not want Diddy dating my sister. I mean, just hands down. Horrible dude as far as I'm concerned. However, with regard to the charges that he faces, do you think that the prosecution is going to be able to really get him on those charges?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm telling you, to me, this looks like, and we talked about it before, this looks like a criminal case about whether or not Sean Combs was a physical abuser for Cassie Ventura. We all, based on the video, presumably know the answer to that already, but the issue is that's not what he's on trial for. He's on trial for racketeering, for this RICO charge, where they say he set up this organization to further his sexual exploitation of other people, but we haven't seen evidence of that big picture scheme yet. And in fact, his accountant came in and said, this business was run very well. We made sure that we were following the rules. We paid taxes. We did everything we were supposed to do. It was a legitimate business. That was a prosecution witness who gave testimony that's beneficial to Sean Combs in this case, because they're saying his business had nothing to do with his private sexual life. And if they continue along that track and the prosecution doesn't put up other people to go against that, then I don't know if he'll be found guilty in this case. He will be looked at as a bad person for physical abuse and being abusive in a relationship, but not guilty of RICO charges, which is what he's facing right now at the time.
Dante, when we spoke last week, we were both made aware that the prosecution is actually ahead of schedule, stating that they should rest their case perhaps a week before. Many thought they would do just that. I asked you then, hey, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Coming from your experience, you stated perhaps it's not really a good thing for the prosecution. Do you still stand by that?
I do. And I still wonder if they're losing some witnesses that they anticipated having, if there's some subject matter that they thought they would be able to get into that they can't. And we talk about this special request, maybe even in that, it was some things where this witness wasn't comfortable saying everything that they thought the witness would say. But to say we're going to end earlier when you haven't proven everything yet to meet the elements you need, to me, is a bad sign. They still have some work to do. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get that work done in an expedited fashion, because they spent so much time on things that's unrelated to the charge, again, based on that video. So I expect that they should have a lot more witnesses who's going to come in and talk about this criminal enterprise, people who were paid by him, people they paid outside of just this video. I haven't seen that yet, so I'm just baffled by the fact that they're saying we're going to get this done shorter than we anticipated.
Yeah, very interesting to say the least. Dante, will end with this. I have about a minute left, and that is that disruption that took place within the courtroom yesterday. We know that a woman inside the courtroom blurted out several words in the direction of Diddy. The judge then had that woman removed. Yet again, you have been a part of many trials. Have you seen something like that? And when that happens, I would assume it disrupts whatever happens to be going on and perhaps could weigh in even on the jury.
I've been a part of that, and I've been a part of a good amount of high-profile cases. In fact, there was a case that I was just on last year where the judge had to remove somebody from the courtroom. I've been in cases where the judge had to remove family members from the courtroom who were hearing testimony that they thought, they didn't agree with, and jumped up and spoke either to the witness or to the defendant. It's a problem, but I don't think it has bigger picture implications. I think people understand that criminal charges and criminal cases, they're emotionally charged because they're serious. Sean Combs could go to jail for the rest of his life if he's found guilty here. So there's going to be people, we have to remember, courtrooms are public. So people line up and it's first come, first serve. So people from the public go in and hear the testimony. If they think something is happening in there they don't agree with, sometimes they get emotional. I don't think they should, but it happens. And if somebody is thinking Sean Combs may get off because of what they're hearing, and they want to make sure he hears it from them, how bad of a person he is, that's what it seemed like to me. But a jury isn't going to make their decision based on outbursts in the courtroom. They're going to make their decision based on the evidence that they hear that's presented to them at trial. They're going to be level-headed. I really trust juries in this country. I trust our system. And I think they'll come out with a reasonable decision at the end that they believe is right.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Yet again, Dante Mills, trial attorney extraordinaire, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, sir. Make it a great day.
Good to see you. Have a good day.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Poet, Celebrity Dish, coming up next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It's been a busy day in the Live Zone. It's about to get even busier. Why? Because it's time to do a little celebrity dish on a Wednesday. And joining us, as she always does on Wednesday, my very good friend, colleague, Poet Taylor from WPGC Midday Shenanigans back here on the LZ. What's up, Poet? Good to see you.
Oh, Guy with your handsome self. I hope you are taking care of you. Thank you for having me.
Poet, stop kissing up. You're already here every week, so that we're going to leave it at that. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much for saying just that. Let me be nice. Hey, Poet, let's kick this off with somewhat of a disturbing story. I got to tell you, when I saw this, it bothered me, and I'm pretty sure it bothered a lot of folks as well. And I'm referring to more family drama surrounding singer Brian McKnight following the death of his estranged son last week. Now, Brian bashed his brother and ex-wife, who happens to be obviously his son's mom, in an Instagram message yesterday, saying his brother announcing the news on TikTok was tasteless. He says the tragedy has become like a reality show. Brian says after the 32-year-old passed away, he and his family flew to Maui and had a private memorial remembering him in all the good times. He adds that the door of communication remained open until his son's death, and he says he offered help for his son with doctors and private care, but his son and mom declined. You talk about family drama, Poet. What say you?
I say that may they be an example of what we don't want to be. I'm telling you, life is way too short for this to do what you spend your time and energy on. Even sometimes when people are too stubborn to reach out, sometimes you need to be the person to be like, nah, we ain't going out like that. Because now look at you. He's gone. You will never be able to repair that relationship. And sometimes we allow our egos to stop things dead in their tracks, and we got to learn. So I look at that, and some people that I ain't spoke to in a minute, Guy, I had to reach out to, like, listen, anything we got, let's bury that. Let's do a little charcuterie board, a little barbecue, sit down, break bread, and keep it moving, because there will come a time where you won't be able to apologize, to hug, to tell somebody that I love you, I was wrong, and actually be able to still live out some moments.
Yeah. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, Poet, but wasn't there some drama earlier this year or last year surrounding Brian McKnight and his kids? Didn't he say something to the tune of he didn't have a relationship with them and he was proud of that or something like that?
So it was really messy. And I think what happens with some of us is when hearts are broken and we say things that we don't know how to come back from, we just keep piling on. We know hurt people hurt people. Did he say some things back and forth with his son? Yeah. I figure you got to be hurting a lot to be in the public eye doing that kind of stuff. There was some slander that he would recognize some children and not the other. And to all of that, I still say life is too short for that. And if anything, some of the help he was offering other people, he might need to offer to himself. I think we're all learning. You never know what somebody's dealing with and what's making them act how they act until sometimes super after the fact. So I'm afraid that he takes this moment to move forward, move the ego, accountability, responsibility, and see what happens next.
Yeah,
because
well said, Poet. Well said.
I don't want to be that person, but I got to be that person in this moment because every day you see that people be dealing with a lot and don't really know how to project it outside of shooting it at somebody else. So, yeah.
Well,
That's a
to your
tough one.
point, now is the time to pick up that telephone and perhaps reach out to someone that you have beef with or had beef with, and go ahead and bury that hatchet. Let's move on to Shiloh Jolie, because apparently, well, I'd like to reintroduce herself. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's daughter debuted her new name during a recent appearance in Los Angeles. The 19-year-old went by, I believe it's Shy, if I'm pronouncing it right, while performing at a dance number. Well, she goes on to say the nickname comes 1 year after she made another name change, officially petitioning to drop her dad's surname. Yet again, family drama, Poet.
Everybody just knows the place they want to be is right here in Celebrity Dish Fox 5 Live Zone with you. Because, girl, why are you making an announcement that we calling you by your nickname? Awesome. Right now. I go by Poet Taylor, but you can call me Po. Or Po. Like, really? No. I don't know what else you got going on. Bring that to me. I want to see your movie, your book, whatever you got, girl. But really, are we really doing an announcement because I'd like to go by my nickname? You know how many people been doing that since they club days? Been calling them she your whole life. Name Barbara. Girl, congratulations. And I think you pronounced it right. I don't know one way or the other. I was tickled by the story from the moment I read it. Why?
Well, in that case, Poet,
Why?
you can now call me G. It's already 3 letters, but G-U-I, now just call me G. Poet, will end with this, and that is Wendy Williams actually made a rare public appearance. The former talk show host was spotted in New York City over the weekend with her former show producer. Now, the meetup comes as Wendy continues to fight to get released from a 3-year conservatorship. What are you thinking about this?
I love that she looks good, and I ain't gonna lie, what Wendy is going through made sure that a lot of my cousin generation checked on our elders to know what their wishes would be if something happened, who in charge of what, who has information and access to what, because this is really sad to watch. To hear on one side that she can't care for herself and then keep seeing interviews and her out obviously caring for herself, it's almost like you don't know what to believe anymore, but definitely a word to the wise to have your affairs in order so somebody can't puppet string you. And shout out to Jazz for pulling up on her, because we know sometimes when you go through stuff or you not the access that you used to be, people leave you high and dry. So let's also salute those who are still showing up for her, loving on her, checking on her, and fighting for whatever freedom looks like to her in this moment.
Yeah, she looks good, and that's what I like. I'm happy for her, and so hopefully, as long as she's happy, I'm happy, and I think a lot of the viewers would agree with us as well. Poet, I got about a minute left, and I know I want to make sure that we tag and plug what you got coming up in July. It's all about, what, the National Cannabis Festival? Is that the case? Are you hosting?
Yes, I am joining Sammy K once again to host, and Big Boy, 3-6 Mafia, Ty Dolla $ign, just a few of the folks is going to pull up alongside Black Alley, a few others. Details in my IG stories at Just Curious Po. And if you haven't seen it, I now have a viral interview with K1, yes, the singer behind Worst Behavior with Kalani and Do What I Say. I asked her about the wildest DM she's gotten recently from somebody based on the Worst Behavior video. Let's just say they offered up their mother for a good time.
Oh.
You can see it on my IG page right now. Like, it's wild. It's wild.
Well, and so is that coffee cup you're holding. I absolutely love that, Poet. I see exactly what you're doing. Oh, I'm sorry, Poe, joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. We'll chat soon.
I look forward to it. Cheers.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, producer Chris joins us with the sizzling topics. He's coming up next, right here on the Live Zone.
All right, Emmy, can you, sorry.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. I thought sharing is caring, but apparently when it comes to Chris, that's not the case. What are you drinking there, my friend?
I mean, I have enough, but I only have one straw, so we can like Lady
I'm
in the
good.
Tramp it. But...
No.
Oh, this?
Yeah, that.
Oh, this is just Dunkin's new iced pink spritz refresher.
Okay.
Perfect for those hot summer days like today. And in fact, the reason that we're talking about it is because it's their new collaboration with Summer House star Paige DeSorbo. Conveniently, the Summer House Reunion Part 2 airs tonight on Bravo. If you're a fan, you can check that out. But first, Dunkin' teamed up with them for this new drink. It is a combination fruit forward, passion fruit, orange, and guava.
Huh.
Now, You may have had that before. The only time I can imagine having anything like this was when I was in Hawaii, and I joked that it would make the perfect mixer. It just needs a little bit of the hooch, if you will, to make it sitting by a poolside perfection. But if you want to try it, it's available now at Dunkin's near you. $3 for a medium for a limited time. They have a bunch of other deals. They're also bringing back a new orange and vanilla glazed donut. You can try it all for yourself. At your nearest Dunkin'.
When you said spice it up, would you do vodka or tequila?
That is an excellent question. I almost think maybe if I'm thinking Hawaiian and those sort of fruity drinks, a nice dark rum.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There you go. Okay.
I'll have to experiment and get back to you for sure.
Let us know.
I will. We're going to talk about some more snacks coming up in just a minute. But first, I want to talk about this story out of California that absolutely fascinates me. You may have seen this headline. We are talking about a track and field controversy that cost a high schooler the state championship title. And now, a former Olympian is weighing in on this because what got her disqualified was her post-race celebration that was paying homage to a gold medal winner. So let me set the scene for you. This happened over the weekend in California. We're talking about high school sophomore by the name of Clara Adams. She had just won the 400-meter race. There is a video on YouTube. These are some still pictures from it. Right after she won, she walked over to the stands where her dad was sitting. He handed her a fire extinguisher. She went into the infield afterwards and she blasted it onto her feet as if they were on fire. It's creative.
Yeah.
I gotta give points for creativity. However, you see next, the officials not laughing. They extinguished the fun. They actually disqualified her from that race, costing her that 400-meter win and the state championship title. They also disqualified her from the 200-meter race, which she was also supposed to compete in, and she was considered a favorite.
Oh, man.
After this all went down, after all the drama, she spoke out to a local TV station in California. She said she was shocked and very upset. Her dad, who is a sprinting coach, said that she did not do it in front of her competitors. She was on the infield, away from everyone. It was her moment to celebrate and shine. And he thinks they did her wrong by disqualifying her. So this story gets out there. Maurice Green, if that celebration looks familiar, it is because Olympic gold medalist Maurice Green did the same thing during a track meet back in 2004. His teammates blasted his feet with fire extinguishers. He was not punished for it. So when asked about this, he thinks that the organization, the league that oversees this, needs to take a second look at it, and they might need to take back that disqualification.
Especially being that dad was involved, meaning, he
This
was the one that
clearly
gave her.
pre-planned.
Yeah.
This was clearly pre-planned, and she obviously went in knowing that she might be the champion as a result. Obviously a highly talented runner. Obviously, I have a lot of feelings about this.
I like it.
It's a question of sportsmanship versus gloating versus being allowed to celebrate and enjoy the moment that you have. Also, to the point, this is what some of the professionals are doing. And if you don't want this to happen, it's a matter of setting a good example too. So obviously getting a lot of attention, making headlines nationwide. We'll keep you updated if there's any movement on this. But I found this story. I feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if you're the person who then gets awarded first place and you didn't win, you probably can't feel great about that either.
Yeah. I would give it back to her. So.
Yeah, I would too.
All right.
So hopefully we'll keep track and see what happens, pun intended. All right, let's get back to the snacks now. Let's go from the track to the snacks. That's more of my area these days. Back in the day, I used to be a runner. McDonald's making it official. The snack wrap is back.
Yes.
But you still have a little wait. July 10th is when McDonald's, the Golden Arches, says you will finally be able to get your hands on one again. They discontinued it back in 2016, and fans have clamored for it ever since. However, they may have waited a little too long because Popeyes actually just debuted their new chicken wrap earlier this week. And so we may have a snack rap battle on our hands.
Let's get it on.
A rap battle is what I'm talking about here. We're talking about a rap battle, the likes of which we have not seen since
In a long
Kendrick
time, yeah.
and Drake. And now, here's what happened yesterday. I thought I had a fever dream. I had to go back and find these tweets. McDonald's posted a long message to fans. It was from someone claiming to be on their social media team, thanking fans, saying it is because of you, your dedication, your passion for the snack wrap that brought this back. Now, when I say this was a long tweet, you are only getting the first 2 paragraphs of it on your screen right now.
Right.
Go check it out for yourself if you can. It goes on and on and on and on. And that's when Popeyes weighed in. If you take a look at this next tweet, they posted just simply the caption, "Y'all good?" with a screenshot of what is one of my favorite text messages of all time. I ain't reading all that. I'm happy for you though, or sorry that happened. When I went back and looked today, I couldn't find these tweets. I had to go back, find the screenshots I sent. Anyway, the snack rap battle is officially summer 2025 snack rap battle. Popeyes versus McDonald's. Let us know whose side you're on.
Well, hands down so far, Popeyes is taking the cake, man.
For sure, for sure. Eating and leaving no crumbs, as Marissa Mitchell likes to say, when it comes to this. However, the snack wrap from McDonald's has a lot of fans out there, a lot of big name fans.
Yeah.
And they have made, they've put their money where their stomachs are, where their mouth is, and now they will be rewarded for their patience for the first time since 2016. It is back, July 10th. Mark your calendars.
Oh, God, that's so funny.
Superman comes out July 11th. That's where I'll be.
Oh, well, Batman fans.
That had
they
nothing
will
to do
ticked
with
off,
anything.
but, well, Superman fans can then say, "Y'all good?"
Y'all good.
That's so funny. All right, producer Chris with all things sizzling topics in not sharing right here on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break and be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Join now with Sylvia, our digital content producer. You good?
I am.
Did you see that last? I'm just still tripping over what Chris said with regard to Popeye's response to McDonald's. Y'all
Oh
good?
no, I missed it. That's what they said.
Apparently they're beefing McDonald's.
Cause the
had a
snack
whole-
wrap.
Yeah.
I
had
was
a
just
whole-
saying on my ride in, I've seen so much about Popeye's snack wrap. I'm like, why do I want a snack wrap at like 8 a.m.? People have been raving about it. I feel like I have to go do a full review. And now McDonald's is like, no, we coming back with ours. Well, you should have never got rid of it in the first place.
Tell them, Sylvia.
Yeah.
The expert on all things snack wraps.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about some of the stories we're following for you. Of course, you can check them all out on our website, fox5dc.com. What you got?
Okay, so recently there was kind of a little scuffle that happened around DuPont Circle Park. So we know Pride is, it's officially here, but initially it was announced that DuPont Circle Park would actually be closed during Pride due to some vandalism that happened last year. Literally less than 24 hours, this decision was reversed. So the park will now be open for Pride and festivities that are taking place, but it was kind of a precautionary measure. It was just based off of some vandalism that occurred last year with the pond that's located in there, trash, just things of that. So NPS was attempting to kind of take some precautions and avoid that type of thing happening again. Less than 24 hours and they reversed it based off of an outcry from the public being like, you know, this is a space where we should be able to frequent and enjoy ourselves during this celebration.
And so I would assume that's where a lot of folks want to hang out during all this. Wow, okay, well, good for them.
Yeah.
I'm glad they responded. You know, so many times when folks are somewhat in a, are upset, you kind of just sweep it under the rug. But for city officials to actually address it, acknowledge it, and then make changes, kudos going out to them.
Yeah.
All right, well, good stuff. I'm trying to think, have I been to that park?
I'm not sure if I've been there either. Probably in passing. Maybe I just didn't recognize it or notice it as much. But when DC Pride is happening, it does get very packed in the city. So I can imagine a lot of people are on foot. People are just finding places maybe to lounge or just moving with the crowd and enjoying different things. As you can see from the footage.
I have been there. That's where that Truist Bank is. Yeah, they always have the
As soon as I saw the Truist Bank, actually I was like, yep, I know exactly where this is. And usually the parade is in this vicinity. So sometimes it can be a really great place, like to get a good view of the parade that's taking place, unless you want to be on the opposite side where you can be kind of bombarded with a lot of people.
Okay.
So it's back open again.
Good stuff. High five going out to the folks that wanted to make that happen.
Yes.
All right, so we know that a lot of road closures are going to actually get underway in the near future.
Yes, and I will be talking about these road closures for as long as I can because I feel like it's important to know about this ahead of time, especially because these road closures are going into effect Friday at 6 a.m. and some staying until Monday afternoon or Monday morning.
Wow.
A lot being in the northwest area of DC due to DC Pride that's happening. There's going to be that festival, that parade. We will be streaming on Saturday so people can enjoy at home if you're not able to make it down to that area in DC. But a lot of commotion that's going to be going on this weekend in the city, and you have to be mindful of road closures.
Yeah, that is so key. I have always said DC is such a beautiful city. I love living in DC proper. I actually live inside the lines. I hate it when they shut those roads down. But to your point, perhaps I need to be more proactive and figure out what roads will be shut down prior.
It's a lot. It's very helpful. It's very helpful because then the type of traffic that can actually begin to pile up with these road closures. I mean, I've seen it before. You're sitting in bumper to bumper traffic and you have no idea what's going on. You're like, was there an accident? But there's always something happening in DC. So I'm trying to let everyone know ahead of time. Be mindful of those road closures. We have all those up on our site, box5dc.com. If you go under things to do, full list of the road closures for this weekend.
Great job with that, because folks, they really need to know. I don't find out until I see it. It's like those big dump trucks that they park to block the street. And I'm like, oh my God, it's too late. I'm stuck.
Literally, but at least you're at the front of it. Like imagine, like you're at the tail end, and you still have no idea what's going on. So be sure to check our site for those road closures.
All right, good stuff. Absolutely love the site. Speaking of love, love is in the air for let's say a local celeb.
Yes, Noah Lyles and his amazing fiance literally graced the cover of Essence magazine with their engagement photo shoot. I mean, it was a stunning photo shoot that had a vintage Italian farm theme. The two are gold medalists and phenomenal track stars in their own right, and they are kind of sharing their love story with Essence about how they met, which I think is really cute because she is saying, and she being Janelle Bromfield, is saying that she actually slid in Noah's DMs a couple of years ago, and the two kind of had some correspondence going back and forth. They ended up meeting. They fell in love, and now they are planning to get married next year spring. But it's just so beautiful. The pictures are lovely and stunning. The dress, the colors, they already said they have their location chosen. Wow. I'm like, you all are really ahead of the game, especially with such a busy life. I'm sure they have so many things that they are doing.
Well, he's used to moving fast.
Yeah.
You see
I see. Okay, that was good. Okay. That was good, Guy. You slid that in there too. Okay, that was good. So I'm excited to see what can come for the two of them, how their career will grow, and the two of them as a couple as well. And they also spoke about that during their interview with Essence.
Wow, look how beautiful that happened to
Yeah,
be. That was
yeah.
just awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see when that all comes to fruition. To your point, I wonder how long they planned for that to happen.
Right.
And it seems like, bottom line, they're both really happy.
Yeah.
So, dear God, if the pictures look that good now, just
Yeah.
imagine how those wedding photos are going to look.
Imagine. I can't even imagine it. And Noah, of course, is from the DMV area,
Yeah.
being from Alexandria. So, we have to put a spotlight on our amazing athletic stars and just the greatness that comes out of the DMV.
Yeah. Is this like the proposal season? Because let's see, two of my buddies actually
Yeah.
proposed to their girlfriends and now have fiancés.
This
So
might
is that-
actually be proposal season, although he did initially propose, I believe, last year. I want to say back in October.
Okay.
And these are just engagement photos or a photo shoot that was done by Essence. But I do believe this is kind of proposal season. You don't want to do it when it gets too hot outside, because unless you're doing it indoors or something. But I mean, to each its own, honestly.
I can speak to that. With this whole TV thing, you got to
Yeah.
wear makeup. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, when I walk outside, whoa, I don't know how you all do it. It just starts melting away.
Listen, Guy, there are tips and tricks, okay? There are products that you have to have. There's primer, there are
Okay.
steps, there's powder,
Oh.
there is there's spray.
Girl,
there's a
just-
lot of steps to
I'm
this.
just used to a washcloth and soap. I got to
Yes.
do a lot of work
When
with
I
this
put my
stuff.
face on in the summer, it is staying on until I say it's coming off.
I thought you woke up like this.
That too.
Sylvia, with all things we're following for you, yet again, our website, fox5dc.com. Truly appreciate you,
Of
Sylvia.
course, anytime.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and be right back.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, beautiful out there
Oh
early
my
this morning.
gosh, it was great.
Did you go out for a little workout?
No, just, walking from here to the metro, that's my workout.
Okay, yeah. I mean, depending on. Let me go on and do some weather.
Please do, before we get in
It's
trouble.
important I have an edit button that I use on myself. Very warm and a little bit of haze out there. Okay, so when you're walking into the two metro this morning, probably you enjoyed the blue skies because it's a little brighter out than it was yesterday. Yesterday we were really battling that wildfire smoke from Canada. Today it's a bluer sky and there's less haze out there. So it's an all good news forecast, especially if you like the summertime temps. We're going to be warmer than yesterday, mid to upper 80s, and a really, really pleasant afternoon across the region with lots of sunshine. No rain or thunderstorms for our Wednesday. 72 at the noon hour, 74 Dulles, and you can see the beautiful conditions there looking across the tidal basin. Amazing, those are the same trees that are our cherry blossoms in the spring,
gosh,
right?
really? Wow.
Yeah, look at your green out there early this afternoon. Okay, nice looking day. I can't even find more than a few clouds in southern Virginia, and it will be a beautiful late afternoon, beautiful evening to be out. It will be a little on the warm side, mid to upper 80s. If you want weather fun facts, yesterday was the first time in 2 weeks that we hit 80 degrees.
Nice.
So 86, 87 late this afternoon may feel a little warm for a few of us. Haven't hit 90 yet, and this will be one of our warmest days of the year. And we're expecting this trend, this summer-like trend to continue Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. So each day looks great. All right, a couple weather features to talk about. First, let's talk about the clouds down in South Carolina. See that little puff of clouds down there? If I were to expand that a little bit, there's a storm down in northern Florida, and the Hurricane Center is already looking at, could this be our first tropical storm of the season? I don't think it will be. They don't either. But that storm is going to sneak far enough north. Not that it'll bring us rain tomorrow, but it'll probably bring us a cloud deck tomorrow. So maybe rather cloudy for our day on Thursday. And then if you look out to the west toward Chicago, you can clearly see some rain showers. That's the weather as we get into the weekend. Not that it's going to rain all weekend, but I do think Friday afternoon it'll be close enough. We'll have a few showers around here. And then on Saturday, especially kind of second half of Saturday, warm, sticky start to the weekend. We'll have some late day thunderstorms. We're getting a lot of questions about the weekend forecast. That's why I'm talking already about Saturday and Sunday. 87, a little bit of haze, but mostly just a warm, pleasant afternoon. And there's your rest of the work week forecast. A couple showers by late Friday, not a washout. And then storms by late Saturday afternoon, warm and sticky up ahead of it. But again, won't be a rain out. Got a lot going on. Got baseball, pride parades, live golf. Lots going on this weekend.
I'm excited about that live golf thing, but I think I'm going to stop by there on Friday, by the way. Hey, real quick, we haven't hit 90 yet this year, correct?
We haven't, no.
Okay.
No, typically we do by the middle of May, so we're going to be close to a month behind before we do. We don't hit it today or tomorrow.
All right, fingers crossed. I like it hot.
Me too.
Tucker Barnes joining us. Is that your hot move?
Yeah, that's my hot move. Okay, bye.
Hey, guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox local app. That way you can take your forecast with you any and everywhere you go. All right, well, as we get set for the take, wanted to acknowledge some of the guests that got a chance to stop by earlier. Obviously, a big shout out going out to none other than Austin Barron. Who is he? Well, if you watched American Ninja Warrior the other day, you got a chance to see him shine like no other. Here's the cool part. If this guy goes all the way, he's going to take home a whopping $250,000. I don't even think he's 21 yet. I mean, imagine that. He's living a life in a major way. Yet again, high five going out to him. And if I didn't make mention of it, he's from Ashburn, so he's a local hero, if you will. Hey, did you hear June happens to be Men's Health Month? And obviously we had a doctor come on earlier to discuss all things with regard to prostate cancer screenings. It is so important and top of mind, especially after the diagnosis of former President Joe Biden. Dante Mills joined us. Yes, trial attorney extraordinaire. Of course, all things surrounding the P. Diddy trial. This thing has just been so interesting over the past couple of days. We know yesterday one of the employees got a chance to take the stand, stated, well, that Diddy gave him not only $50,000, but double it up. Yes, $100,000, but it's the way he brought that money to him. In a brown paper bag. Imagine that. And then, well, they actually had the cash counting machine right there, and he testified that that's actually how that happened. He also pled the fifth so that he did not incriminate himself. And then last but not least, a big shout out going out to none other than Councilmember at Large Robert White. Yes, he got a chance to stop by. Of course, a lot of folks talking about Initiative 82. This is a big deal, and it's affecting a lot of hospitality workers. However, according to the councilman, now is not the time to move forward with regard to just that. Hey, thanks to my producers, Emmy and Jim. Coming up next, The Take, right here on Fox 5.